Which new Auburn starter are you most excited to see in 2022? We share our list, and yes, there are quarterbacks on here.
Well, Zach, I actually just finished crushing some chicken farm, and I am freaking ready to rock and roll.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's Tuesday, so that makes it a Charlie Tuesday, as we are joined by Auburn message board legend Charlie 5, who some people think have appeared a little bit angry lately. We'll see if that holds true on the show today. We want to go through some guys that we are excited, some new starters that we're excited to see start for the Auburn Tigers in 2022. I guess I should say potentially start, because the depth chart is in no way set out and filled out at this point. But I'll go first with a guy that I think has the chance to really, really help this offensive line take a step forward. Killian Zaire is a guy that I've been very high on since he's been here. It seems like he really kind of stole the show up front in spring practice over the last month, which is exciting to see. And looking at it's not a full sample size, but looking at a sample size last year, his pass grade was not bad, which fits into what was going on with the remainder of the offensive line last season. But his run blocking numbers, Pro Football Focus has him like 31 out of 32 of guys who run blocked for the Tigers last year. So very, very bad. But could he have possibly turned the corner there and made something happen to impress the coaching staff?
God, I hope so.
I hope so too. 31 out of 32 is not great in literally anything. So that's a guy I'm looking at, Killian Zaire. I'm excited to see what he does.
I like it. Big boy. He's on my list. He's not the number 5. He's actually a little higher than that. But yeah, I'm with you. I like it. I love lists. You know what? Yeah, I just love lists in general.
Oh, it's this season.
Like this season. I like to take my time with it and be very thorough and make sure that I don't finish it too quickly. I want to make sure that it's set and it's well thought out. So
yeah, and taken care of, that everything's in proper order there. All right, yes. So I guess we're ranking them. So I guess that's my fifth. Sure. Fifth most there. Who would you have as the guy you're fifth most excited to see as far as new starters in 2020?
So I love giant teenagers and early 20 male bodies, and especially love it when they're not. He's higher. I especially love it when they're big and in the middle. So I've kind of got an because I don't really know who's going to be that guy in the middle, but I got Jason Jones or Jeffrey Imba. And the reason I do think that they will, one of those two guys, Imba's got the shoulder surgery or whatever. So how does he get back into shape? All I've heard about is how disruptive Jason Jones is. And we talked about it last spring too with I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's on the offensive line now. Wright. Jeremiah Wright. Yeah. So that seems to me what Harsin, Schmedding, that's what they want. They want a guy in the middle to just eat up space, and that allows them to put multiple playmakers on the field that's going to take blocks away from, that can make plays. And I really am anxious to see how I feel like we actually have the guys now to run that true 3-4 with a big nose and just sit down in space and you can't move them. We actually have that guy now, and I'm anxious to see how many edge guys we can throw out there, how many linebackers we can throw out there, free up space for Colby Wooden to be a real dominant, true 3-4 defensive end. Multiple things are going to play off of it. So that's why I'm excited to see which one of those guys is going to be the centerpiece, right there in the middle.
Yeah. So I guess that would technically be a starter. So I wrote down Jason Jones's name, and then I actually struck through it because I don't know if he's a starter. I think he's a very relevant piece, but I'm curious to see who all they list as a starter, because I don't see a world where the starters up front are not listed Derek Hall, Eku Leota, Marcus Harris, and Colby Wooden. And I just don't think they're going to list another guy as a starter. We're getting into technicalities there.
Sure.
A little bit.
Sure.
But I do think he becomes a relevant piece, both of them. But I don't think they're technically starters.
I don't really see how Hall and Leota are like every down on the same field at the same time.
So if that's the case, who's your defensive end? Because then it's Zakevious Walker to me.
No, I think it's Hall on the end, and then you have Harris, one of the big guys, and then Wooden. I think that's the way the lineup goes.
You put Wooden in front of the tackle?
No, you go Hall stand up,
right?
And your two ends are going to be probably like Harris and Wooden with a big guy in the middle. That's how. And then you got two to three other linebackers.
Yeah, there's a chance.
And then on pass rushing downs and just situationally, I think they'll run Eku in on the other side and then sub in him for Hall, every so often so they can just both stay fresh and just keep in. And I just don't necessarily.
That's why they put so much weight on Eku, though, is so he can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's exciting nonetheless.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Because, we just mentioned 6 or 7 dudes, and then Zakevious Walker is the forgotten name who's been starting, and being a relevant player.
He's like over 300 pounds now, and just a monster.
And he can move extremely well too. So it's like, man, the defensive front. I mean, this could be the deepest it's been in a while, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be exciting to see. All right, we continue our list in just a moment. Spoiler, my next one is a wide receiver. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Athletic Greens. They have created this awesome product. It's called AG1. I refer to it as a potion, but it really combines every kind of vitamin and supplement that you need into one thing, and it really changes how your body feels after taking it 2 or 3 days in a row. I've been taking it about 3 weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks now, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It stays in your refrigerator, and you mix it with cold water first thing in the morning, and you feel good. It costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It's cheaper than that cold brew habit, and it's cleaner energy, and you feel great. You feel great. So Athletic Greens wants to make it easy for you to reclaim your health. You're going to get a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/college. All right, Charlie 5, the next guy on my list that I want to talk about, Malcolm Johnson Jr. He impressed me a ton at A-Day. I thought he would just be a piece of the offense, but I think there's a solid chance that he leads Auburn in receiving next year. That may be a little dramatic. That may be a little bit of an overreaction based on what we saw with A-Day, but I just think the volume and the fact of I think it was a few days before A-Day when Harston was asked about the receivers, he just gushed on and on and on about Malcolm Johnson Jr. when he didn't have to. And to me, that says a lot. I think he's publicly saying, hey, Malcolm, fantastic job so far this season, or this offseason rather. So I think Malcolm is a dude to watch, and I think I'm very excited to see what he brings to the table, because the most similar guy we've seen to this was Anthony Schwartz. And while Anthony Schwartz had his moments at Auburn, I think most folks are a little underwhelmed with what he brought to the table as far as production. I don't think it's Anthony Schwartz's fault by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe we get a second chance of that with a guy like Malcolm Johnson Jr. So I guess he's my fourth guy.
I like Malcolm Johnson Jr. too. I agree he could lead in receiving, and mostly because it doesn't seem like we're going to even try to get a portal wide receiver. Try to land once. Just throwing that out there. All right, my number 4. I had a little Oregon flavor to start off with. DJ James. I think DJ James is going to start at corner. Already getting rave reviews. Big bodied corner. I like bigger corners, and he's physical. Really excited. Coming home to Alabama. just fired up for that kid. Think he's going to be good early and often.
I'm there with you. I've got DJ James as my third guy, so I'll go ahead and chime in on him as well. I'm curious to see how he's used, and I'm also curious to see how this defense operates from a cornerback standpoint. Do they have a boundary guy or a corner guy, or boundary or a field guy, or do they have sides of the field? That'll be interesting to see how they handle that. I think James will be a really good boundary corner, assuming we line up our DBs that way. And there's a chance that we don't do that. And so it doesn't matter. But that's how he was used at Oregon primarily. And he was really willing to participate in run defense. And Hart's is going to love that. Right. So
he likes to get his head in there.
I think it's a
play.
So, DJ James. There you go. So who is your number 3?
Killian Zaire. I hinted it earlier. This is new starter, so we kind of feel like it's going to be him and Troxel. He did show flashes of being able to be a pretty solid pass protector, and we're going to have to throw it a lot because we can't move the ball. We can't move people running the ball. So good size, good frame. He's athletically gifted naturally because he's not really refined as a football player because he's only played football for like 4 years. So I think he could take a next step. I'm excited to see Killian Zaire for sure.
Right. Yep. I'm there with you. All right. My number 2 is Zion Puckett. I think Zion Puckett has a chance to be a starting safety, filling that role that Smoke had a year ago. And I mean, rightfully
so athletic.
I think Smoke earned the reps there, but early on, like Zion is like, was he a corner? Is he a nickel? I think he's just a defensive back. And so I think the best way to do that is put him in deep thirds. And I think you're going to see that a ton. And I think we just kind of hope he's better when the ball is in the air than other defensive backs that we've seen lately.
Yes. I think he's going to be a lurker. He's a lurker. He's an athlete. He was really, the light was coming on later in the season, and then he kind of hurt his shoulder a little bit, and that's a little bit of a setback. But I think I've been waiting for a guy that just I call it a lurker, and Smoke did it at times, but only if he couldn't really do it down the field. But somebody that's athletic enough, it just seems like when you throw the ball deep, he's just going to be around it somewhere. He's just lurking, just waiting for you to make a mistake.
I thought that's what Christian Tutt was going to be several years ago, and it just didn't happen that way.
Again, underneath, they're great. It's just we seem to struggle getting guys that can play the ball down the field.
When's the last time we've had a DB that played in the middle of the field? We've had corners, right?
Yeah, corners galore.
On the outside when the ball was in the air. But when's the last time we've had a guy in the middle of the field when the ball was in the air, you felt confident that they were going to play it right? Like, when's the last time that's happened?
Easy
comes to mind. Has there been one more than
Daniel Thomas at times? I mean,
maybe, yeah,
but I can't really remember one. Zach Etheridge, maybe. Zach made a lot of plays down the field.
Yeah, sure. That was just so long ago.
It is. It's like 12 years ago.
Yeah. All right. You want to go with your number 2?
My number 2 is probably my favorite guy on the team. There's nobody that there's no
Do you love
doubt
him?
about this one. There's no doubt about this one. It's everybody that listens to the show knows how much I love Cam Riley. Mm-hmm. And I'm sort of like, it's sort of a little bit of faith and hope too that he's the other linebacker starter. I think that there's formations where he will be the first guy. There's certain blitz packages and things like that where I do think he is the first guy. But yeah, Cam Riley. I mean, guys, 6'5", 230-pound freak athlete linebacker. We're not talking about a defensive end. This dude's going to be roaming over the middle, just busting people up in the flat.
Right.
It's going to be. I mean, this is like a prototype NFL defensive playmaker that we have, and the light is right there.
So, serious question here: for him. Who wins in a fight?
Yes.
Do you think one Cam Riley, or 2 Malcolm Johnson Juniors?
One Cam Riley or 2 Malcolm Johnson Jr. You could give me 3 Malcolm Johnson Juniors. I'd still take Cam Riley.
No way. Really? 3 grown men against Cam Riley?
Cam Riley's already 2 grown men. He's essentially 2 grown men.
What do you think the largest animal that Cam Riley could fight and win?
I'm
Just
gonna
hands.
say
No
hand-to-hand combat.
The
I'm gonna
largest animal that Cam Riley could take and confidently walk away alive. What do you
I'm
say?
gonna go wildebeest. I'm gonna go with a wildebeest. I feel like he could handle one. You know, they're sort of that lean deer cow hybrid. I think, and that's essentially what Cam Riley is. So
do they attack with claws or teeth? Because I think that matters. I think he would have
horns. It's more of like a
wildebeest is. Hold on.
Yeah, it's more of like a cow. It's like a cow that's a little more athletic, is what a wildebeest is. I think.
Okay.
Isn't that's what trampled Mufasa, if I'm not mistaken, in the Stampede?
Was a
wildebeest. Not Cam Riley. Not Cam Riley. I think cow deer hybrid is dead on, by the way.
I agree. I think you nailed that. I absolutely think you nailed that. So with a wildebeest, I think Cam Riley could survive. I'm not confident he could bring it down. You know what I mean? You are. So. You are.
Oh yeah, 1000%.
What do you think his signature move would be?
What's that?
What do you think his signature move would be?
I think that he would do sort of like a flying DDT move, like get him from behind and grab him around the neck and then do the whole flying DDT and just go ahead and take him down. I think that's kind of what we'd see.
I wonder if a wildebeest is similar to a cow where like once you get him down, you're good. Like,
yeah, I think
is that something you would have to do multiple times or just once and you pretty much can, take control from there?
I think once you get him down, you finish him.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
I lost it at deer cow hybrid. All right. Sports. Keep
Sports. All right. So we both give it 4, right? We have one left.
Yeah, we got one left.
All right. Yeah. They're both quarterbacks. They're different quarterbacks. Figure out who we have in just a moment. Today's show is brought to you by betonline.net, your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. Looking at BetOnline's updated odds for who can win the tournament in basketball next season. Charlie Five will bring you back. They have Auburn at 40-1 odds to win the Natty next year. Would you say that's a good value or no?
That's pretty good value. I mean, it was 50-1 when in 2013, and Mike G could have won like 50 grand or something like that.
That's true. Yeah,
he said it.
There you go.
So that's good. That's good. It's about, I guess, look at it kind of like that. I think that's probably fairly equal.
Yeah. So if that fires you up, check it out. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right. My number one is TJ Finley. TJ Finley. I think if TJ goes out and throws for 3,000 yards next year, I don't know how anyone could then turn around and say Brian Harsin's not a good coach.
I would say that he's the greatest coach that ever lived, if that happens.
Yeah,
personally.
Because the same people amongst the Auburn fan base that can't stand Brian Harsin or want Brian Harsin gone are the people that are anti-TJ Finley. And so, wouldn't you think?
I guess I could see that.
If I'm off on that, call me out, but I don't think I am.
I'm trying to think of that scenario in a different way.
All right. So if you're out there and you dislike TJ Finley, if you dislike Brian Harsin, but like TJ Finley, let me know. I want to talk to you. I think it'd be interesting.
Dislike Harsin, but you like TJ Finley.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that was the scenario? Okay.
Does that exist? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Now that I think about it, I think you're right.
Yep,
I think you're all over that.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And I just think I'm excited to see, assuming he wins the job, which a lot of people watching are screaming at me right now.
Bine is enraged.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. Go replay the wildebeest conversation. You'll make it through it. I just think the upside as far as how people would view Auburn as a program, if Harsin could say, okay, TJ Finley, you win the job because you won it. You outperformed Calzada and Ashford. And then he went out and delivered and executed. and Auburn had a decent passing offense, like all of a sudden, if you're a recruit, you're like, okay, yeah, I can be a part of this. Like the actual development that Auburn fans have been craving for so long, I think it would show that it exists. And so I like that. I think that'd be something that would be good for the program for sure.
Good for the brand. The opportunity is there. I mean, it's right there for all those things to actually happen. My number one is the guy that I think was pretty much pegged as Bo's replacement. And unfortunately, he was a little dinged up and had to sit out this spring.
Right.
But I think it's Zach Calzada. I think he is going to be your starter. You don't bring in 2 quarterbacks. I feel like or technically 3, even though we did lose Bo, I just don't feel like you bring in 2 transfers if you feel like you're set. Because how many people really get to the 4th quarterback? I mean, there's just not many college teams out there right now that carry 4 quarterbacks. So I don't know. I would be very shocked if Calzada's not the starter going into.
Say his name again. What are you saying?
Calzada.
Why are you saying it like that?
Well, it's how it's pronounced. You don't call him Zac.
You're saying Calzada?
Yeah, Calzada. That's what I'm going. It sounds cooler than Calzada. I'm going with Calzada.
His name so much.
Calzada.
From Calzone to Calzada. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to tell you wrong. I think you're all wrong, but I'm not going to tell you that.
When he comes on and corrects me, I'll correct it. But I think it sounds like he's like a Italian mobster, Calzada. That's what I'm going with.
If it went by Calzada, do you think his QBR would be better, worse, or the same?
Better.
All right.
About
there you
5
go.
Points.
Before we wrap up, you did the Topgolf thing at Jordan Hare Stadium this weekend, right?
That was awesome. That was so awesome,
fun, man. It looked like a blast.
The only downside is it's only an hour. It was only an hour. It was like $1,000 an hour, basically. No,
right.
It was expensive. It was only an hour, but it was, man, we had six guys, 6 dudes in one spot, just banging balls. It was at targets. It was a ton of fun. Took some good video.
You won too, right?
Huh? I destroyed everybody, basically. It was it was fun. Our buddy, our mutual friend Ben was there with us.
Right.
Had a good time. That's a really, really, really cool thing. I never ever thought that I'd hit golf balls inside of Jordan Hare Stadium.
Yeah,
it was really, really cool.
What where did you go in at?
We went in gate 11, right by the recruiting entrance, and you hit balls off platforms in the student section out towards the north end zone. They were smart not to put it in the other end zone where people would be trying to zing them up into the J-Botron.
Oh, okay. So the Jumbotron was behind you.
Yeah, the J-Botron was behind us.
Why are you calling it that?
The J Jacobs, the J-Botron, big vision.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay, cool. Okay. How can people find you here? Support you. Love you.
Yeah, dude. You can find me on Twitter at _Charlie_5. The
weird episode.
Very weird. AuburnLive.com, the corner message board, the Locked On Auburn Discord, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the Dad Bod Golf Pod.
Yes, and we will put a link to the Locked On Auburn Discord down below. It's a long off season. It doesn't have to be just join the Locked On Auburn Discord. There's Auburn conversation happening 24/7, as well as a bunch of other weird stuff. If you like today's episode, the Locked On Auburn Discord is probably for you. Let's just be honest here. Let's just make it extremely clear. Extremely clear. We'll be back tomorrow for a little War Rapport Wednesday right here on Locked On Auburn.